Here we are in Denver, Colorado. We have a nice fresh air break here of about 20 minutes. So I came outside. It's actually quite warm. I don't need my jacket. It's a lovely day. Looking forward to getting into those mountains. like this, winding back and forth, looking up the tall rocks, seeing places where they could possibly tumble down or where there has been slides. It rather reminds me of a time when my first vehicle was, believe it or not, a motorcycle. So you could say I have an adventurous spirit. I learned to ride from a friend, but I also was very, very careful and took a motorcycle safety course, so I understood what to do and how to do it. I was always properly attired. So I decided to go camping with my little 500cc. A little tent and stuff on the back of my bike. Took off to the interior of British Columbia, and I didn't know anything about the road to Princeton. When I was young, we lived in Prince George, which is about 600 miles north of Vancouver, and we always took the old Fraser Highway, and I knew that highway quite well because we always stopped in Cache Creek and 100 Mile House. It was just, we had these places we stopped, and Hope. I'd never been up the Hope-Princeton Highway, so I was on my bike and I was heading up the Hope-Princeton Highway for the first time, and turned out there was a huge slide there that I knew nothing about, which they were cleaning up. However, the road for quite some miles was gravel, and gravel is terribly hard to drive in on a motorcycle. It can be quite dangerous. The one time I dropped my motorcycle was in gravel. So I just remembered that as we were winding around here, remembering that, I always did have a bit of an adventurous spirit. One of the things I liked about riding a motorcycle was taking my bike to the ferry to cross over to go visit family. And motorcycles were allowed to go to the front of the line. So the car drivers would sit there going, "Hey," as your bike went by. And then I'd get to the front and put my bike on its stand, turn, undo my helmet, and this long blonde hair would fall out, and all the guys would go. I loved that. I remember it was only $7.25 in those days to take your bike on the ferry. I didn't like driving much in Vancouver, though. However, my brother worked at a motorcycle shop out in Langley, so I often went there as we were cast in darkness. I did have crash bars on my bike. I was very glad of that because when I did drop the bike, those crash bars saved my leg. All I had was a scrape on my elbow and a couple of torn muscles in my shoulder. But that taught me never go too fast and never brake hard in gravel. I wouldn't ride a motorcycle now, although I used to drive my father's scooter on the island when we visited him. And it was an automatic, so it was easy to drive. But I often think about driving around Canada and the States in a small van, just the back roads and stopping at those charming little towns. I just think that would be a wonderful holiday. Yes, I watch a lot of videos on trips to Europe and possible itineraries and suggestions, places to go that won't break the bank, which we definitely need. But I admit that I do have a hankering to spend Christmas somewhere beautiful and historic like Prague or York in Yorkshire, England. So I'm considering those things. A lot of it will depend on what happens this year because, this trip costs money. And I work hard at my Etsy shop and my YouTube channels. hoping that I might get a little extra income. So we'll see what happens. Pension only goes so far.